Ah, man. I don't have it ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see movement on the stream now.
Ah, here we go.
So I'll need one of you to put up that National Hurricane Center slate that I had, because apparently my Skype's not happy when I do that.
Okay. If you want to send me the link in our
Hang on,
chat,
I'll get it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, it's just
I'll get it.
on a browser, just type NHC and go to, it'll open on the front page. Just click on Crystal Ball, which is the red circle, and it'll bring up the link that I was trying to share that it wouldn't.
Okie dokie, coming right your way.
Cool. There it be.
All right. So, Patty, you had a word about if this thing does not move its track, we're online for about 3 inches of rain.
Yes, sir.
That sounds about right.
This has got a fairly good-sized chunk of really warm water to cross, which is going to do nothing but drive it into what they're saying is tropical storm areas, but it could even go to a hurricane force winds.
Potentially.
And that's going to be this weekend.
And they're looking at possibly Monday night, Tuesday morning. Monday night, the first bands of the storm would move through. Not necessarily the tropical depression itself, but bands that precede these systems, and then followed by the heavy rain. So flooding potential here, because our ground is so saturated, is going to be pretty extreme. Flash flooding. These storms don't go away quickly. They don't move quickly. They're driven by the jet stream, but they don't tend to move like some of our derechos or other storms that move through. And it's summertime. Storms tend to be a little lazy. So they talked about that in what we were watching today, about how there's just not that air movement and when it's hot and humid. And so, yeah, we're looking at some good rain.
Yeah.
Speaking of rain, I had something to share as well. I get back to my screen.
Well,
and share.
Before you go off on that direction.
Okay. Okay.
There are a couple of things that ham radio plays a role in this. The National Hurricane Center, WX4NHC, they have a website that indicates it's actually called the Hurricane Watch Net, hwn.org. There you go.
Yep.
So, if you're monitoring, you've got several options. 14325 on 20 meters. The weather _talk conference on Echolink. Also 7268. 7268 is the 40 meter frequency. That's for the Hurricane WatchNet. Now, the potential states that will be affected, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, they all have message traffic handling nets on HF. They can be on 40 meters, they can be on 80, so you can do Google search to find those frequencies. If this becomes a thing over the weekend, expect that we will be posting some information. Because we are in a place, especially on 40 meters for relays, and if you've got a net control in Texas and they're wanting to hear things on the Gulf Coast, we're in a place where we can provide that really easily. I worked on an antenna today just for that purpose, and it will work. Although I think for better, I may set up our temporary 40-meter vertical to provide information or at least relays for that. Now, it's possible if things get a little dicey, we may even run a live stream where you can listen to the net while we discuss the stuff that we're hearing, because these states will be affected by a lot of tornadoes. Even if the hurricane doesn't get you, the tornadoes usually do. So we're gonna be on it to see what we can do to help, if possible, and kind of help maybe disseminate a little information.
So the webpage I pulled up here is hwn.org. It's the
Right.
Hurricane Watch Net.
Right.
It tells when the nets are active. Not active at this time, but they are at level 2, which means they're monitoring because the tropical cyclone is forecast to threaten land within our area of interest. So,
Yeah, probably as it gets closer to kind of the Texas and Louisiana coastline, they'll probably start activating and having an active net and taking reports, I would assume.
and so evidently there are 2 more out there that have not yet been named.
Oh,
This
okay.
you can click on a link and see which ones are active, which ones are recent. You can go to the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Central Pacific, and you can see forecast advisories, which gives you a summary of things, or updates on what's going on. It's pretty great page full of lots of information. But for hams, the important thing is when's the net active. So anyway.
And they even have over there on the left side, on the side of the page, they've even got some information, some outreach and education, how to prepare, kind of what happens during, like storm surging, probably, if you have to shelter in place, things to keep in mind for that and stuff as well.
Yeah. So, because this storm may not be as severe as some of the hurricanes, it also will affect us, and that means that we will see a lot of rain. And we've had a lot already. The ground is still very wet out there. Even though we've had a bit of a break in the rain, we could have more flooding, as we've seen earlier in the year, and we want to make sure that people have a good heads up as to what could be going on in this area.
Oh yeah, and kind of as you guys have mentioned, just because it may make landfall, it may be downgraded from a tropical storm or a tropical depression, it may just be remnants. You can still have, like we've said, lots of heavy rain that's going to lead to flooding. You could still have some high winds. They can still spin up tornadoes and stuff. So yeah, just definitely if you kind of live in that area, definitely be careful. And it did look like, as you had mentioned, Steve, and as Patty had mentioned, that projected track, if it holds to that, it looks like it's coming right up the middle of Missouri.
Yeah. So I'm positive if you were real on it. I know we've seen them. They do have the models available to look at, and you kind of see what the projected path of it is, and it's all based on stuff that we already know. I mean, we get on there and we look at jet stream locations and the possibility of where it's going to be. So, I mean, that obviously that rain's not going to be until middle of next week.
First of next week, but
yeah.
if you're a fishing boat in the Gulf, it's not gonna be pretty.
No. I definitely would want to bring your boat into harbor, and if you're a person that normally lives on your boat, I don't know if I'd even want to be on it in the harbor.
Yeah, those storm surges, especially Louisiana, they can go miles inland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're talking storm surges of several feet of water. So if you do live along close to the coastline, that's something to be mindful of. If you have an area that has a lot of levees and dikes, particularly around in that area in Mississippi, Louisiana, they've rebuilt them since Katrina, and I'm sure they are 10 times, 100 times better than what they were pre-Katrina, but that's what caused a lot of the inland flooding, that caused a lot of storm damage, and a lot of injuries and deaths was from storm surging and everything that actually broke those dikes and levees and allowed the water to go in, which you have to kind of keep in mind. This kind of blows my mind, particularly around New Orleans. There's a lot of areas that are actually, the land is below sea level.
Yeah.
Those dikes and levees are the only thing keeping the ocean from just permanently covering that land.
So there's Oak Alley, which is north of New Orleans, on the river, and there's a levee right in front of it now. And when it was built, there was never a levee there. It was only just a straight out the front door, straight down a path about 150 yards long, right into the Mississippi. And it's not very high. I mean, it doesn't take much of a flood to cover up the water, the area down there, and it's all just as flat as a board. And
I see. Hello, Rodney.
It's amazing the flooding that can happen in those areas, because this is a double whammy. This gets them with the storm surge, and then the storm moves north of them and fills up the watershed above it, so the river floods.
And it all rolls down.
Yeah. So, not a good day. No. And we don't want anybody hurt down there, because, you know, they make good food and stuff down there, so.
Good food, good music, and good recreation.
Yeah. So, anyway.
And if you go out, into the bayou at midnight, maybe some other good stuff, too.
So I thumbed through here. It does not look like they anticipate this making hurricane strength. So
that's at least good.
That's a good note.
But that's today. It doesn't take much of a change of temperature and humidity out there to push those up.
They generally have a pretty good idea.
True, things can change and conditions can change to promote
possibilities. 24 hours out, 48 hours out, 72 out, 96 out, 120 hours out. So the confidence is pretty low. Probably not zero, but the confidence is pretty low.
And I'd say this is nothing official from like the Weather Service or anything, but I kind of wonder if they don't have a better grasp on what happens in hurricanes and how to forecast for a hurricane than they do for a tornado, just for the simple fact that for many years now, probably at least a couple decades, maybe going back further than that, they actually have people who fly through these things to see what the weather conditions
Hurricane hunters,
what's going on in it.
That would be an interesting topic, Franklin, for you to research and put together a presentation on for next week. It would be a great follow-up if you could do that for us.
I'll try.
Do one on the hurricane hunters. I think, yeah.
And so remember, if the NOAA posts video of them in their airplane, that's all public domain, so we can replay the video and
that's
have
what
a
I was just now thinking. if we could find some video of them going through the eye wall, and then maybe in a separate video, them actually flying through the eye of the storm, because most everyone with the, oh, it's violent and it's just like hell throughout the whole thing. It's not. Very often, that center eye of a hurricane, you may have a Category 5 hurricane going on around you. It's almost deadly calm right in the center of it. And when I was a little kid, that blew my mind.
I got to see the guys landing at Keesler on the beach from Biloxi, Mississippi. Now that was cool, and it was a tropical storm right by us. And what did we do? Bunch of crazy flatlanders. We went out there to go surfing on the beach. It's a hurricane. What's wrong with you? Nah, it ain't that bad. Let's go.
You would think it would be crazy, but oddly enough, I have heard time and time again, just right before or just right after a major storm like that, usually you'll get some of the best surfing that you can imagine.
Hey, we just had maybe 3-foot surf, but it was enough for my youngest on a belly board to surf. He did it, and it was cool.
Kind of, if I can sidetrack for just a second, you brought up surfing. There was this movie that was made in, I think it was either the late 60s or maybe early to mid 70s, about surfing, called The Endless Summer. It was these two buddies that went kind of around and followed the seasons around the globe. They were surfing fans. Some of the best surfing that they said in that movie that they ever had was on the, I guess it would be along the east coast of Africa. After they went around the Horn of Africa, they found this little beach that there was no one there. The waves were only, like you said, like maybe 2 or 3 feet high, but as they came into the beach, they went on for like 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they said there was one particular one, because of course back then they just had reel-to-reel cameras. They didn't have VHS camcorders and stuff, or even digital, plop an SD card in it like we have now. He filmed his buddy riding one of these little waves, filled a whole reel of like 8mm film, and then had to start another reel, and he was still going.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a cool movie.
I also remember Waimea Bay and Bell's Beach. Ooh.
I've heard of both of those.
In another life, man, I will be that surfer dude.
Oh boy.
Patty, you're up. You've got a presentation.
Yes.
I do, but I had something else I wanted to share first.
You got a 5-minute rant?
Well, some of it's almost not relevant anymore. Y'all just blathered. So we have 4 areas that are under severe thunderstorm watch this evening across the continental U.S., lovingly known as the CONUS. So we have an area in southeast Montana, western and central South Dakota, and far northeast Wyoming, with primary threats being large hail, isolated very large hail events to 3 inches in diameter likely. Folks, that's the size of a softball. And that will blow through your roof.
Party on.
So,
will
yeah.
blow through you.
I've been there. That's Deadwood, man. Deadwood
75 mile per hour winds possible, and tornadoes possible as well.
Deadwood and the Devil's Tower.
Another area, number of storm chasers up there, folks, if that gives you an idea what you're expecting. Another area in north central Kansas, central and eastern Nebraska, southeastern South Dakota. Primarily large hail, isolated very large hail events to 2 inches in diameter, hen egg size. Now, It's one thing to have an egg thrown at you; it'll splatter. A 2-inch stone will knock you silly.
Solid
That's not
ice.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Not
Scattered
Danny
damage.
chicken sized.
Scattered damaging wind gusts to 70 miles per hour are possible.
Wow.
We have another area. Oh, and I'm not giving times on those.
Oh.
I gotta go back to
Those are
them
active
because
storms right now that's shown on the radar.
the
That's
first
right now
one,
radar.
yeah, the one for Nebraska, Kansas, the one I just did was till 2 a.m. The one prior to that, I think, is active until 10.
Okay.
Okay, the next area is far southeast Montana, western and central. Did I do that one?
Yeah.
I'm better off going to the map. Okay. Western Oklahoma, western and north Texas. This had been in the panhandles. It has been moved to the east.
Okay.
Effective until 10 p.m. Scattered damaging winds and isolated significant gusts to 80 miles per hour possible. That will rip your roof off your house, folks.
Oh yeah.
Isolated very large hail events to 2 inches in diameter possible. Especially if your roofs aren't anchored.
Yeah. This morning, if people are around the Southwest Missouri area, we had a storm that came through, and we had a lot of some damage. And there was a house on the southwest corner of Springfield that the roof got tore off. And I think KY3, our local NBC affiliate here, I think they reported that the winds at that time was like about 60 miles per hour. So that 60, 70 miles per hour, that definitely can do that. And like Patty said, if your roof's not properly anchored, it's just going to go flying.
There were pockets that I saw of 70 to possibly 80 mile per hour winds this morning here.
Yeah, I think
snapping
that's what they
power
were
poles
talking
yeah.
about over by where I live. My power was out for about around 4.5 hours because it looks like anywhere from about 4 to 6 power line poles in a row decided to snap off like toothpicks.
Yeah. And it was a main. Those weren't little poles.
It was.
We have another area until 10 p.m. Oklahoma Panhandle, Northwest and Texas Panhandle, and it looks like there's still some storms ongoing there. Scattered damaging winds and isolated significant wind gusts to 80 miles per hour, and again 2-inch hail possible. So heads up to that.
And in addition to those areas, radar shows storms from the north central portion of Mississippi all the way to it looks like New York City. There's a whole line of them that's across Kentucky, Tennessee. None of them appear to be that severe, but
there's your map.
Yeah. If we're your first source of weather for the day, and you live out there, be careful.
I bet you part of that is what went through here this morning.
I think you're right.
I think what went through here this morning was actually under a watch out almost to the coast earlier today.
Oh, really?
It's moved on, yeah.
That's quick.
Yeah, it was a quick mover. Here's the mesoscale discussion, and what that means is they're discussing either a current watch area or a new watch area. Not a lot of confidence in the issuance here, but maybe downstream of where they currently have a watch. So
now that it's looking like that's around the Texas Panhandle, is that correct?
Well, they actually call that Northwest Texas. There, it's a little below the Panhandle.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, Rodney, what you got for us? I'll put you on the spot.
I need to unmute myself actually before I...
Where's my mouse? It's
Where's my mouse? Exactly. Where's my head is what it's been more like today. It's been crazy. I don't have anything specific. I think your presentation is probably going to be the primary tonight. I just didn't have the time this week to put together a presentation on my end, so I don't know if we want to table that, or maybe we can get a little bit more structured and do something next week. But I personally don't have anything presentation-wise.
I just challenged Franklin to put one together on the hurricane hunters for next week, so
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one. Several of us were actually in a webinar today by our own NWS office here in Springfield on summer weather hazards. And lightning is something that we can have year round, but it is a particular summer weather hazard because people are outdoors more. And we'll go into that some, but I thought it would be a good topic because here we are, summer weather, places are starting to open up, tourist spots are starting to open back up. People are encouraged in this area to get outside and get in the fresh air and enjoy the sunshine. And if you're like me, you got to have some sunshine. You got to be outdoors. I've been getting my hands in the dirt this week, so. Anyway, so I put together a little presentation, and it was on the heels. I think the kid's name was Kevin, who asked us here a while back, why are positively charged lightning bolts more deadly and rare than negatively charged? And so I kind of took that question and it tried to build on it so that we'd learn a little bit more about lightning, how it's formed, why it's positive, why it's negative. Maybe, and I didn't want to like directly copy what we watched this morning on where the lightning bolts actually come from, but I will touch on that because it's important. And we'll go from there, and I will try to answer Kevin's question. So Kevin, if you're watching, honey, this is for you.
Hey, Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah, something made me wonder if that was one of my questions, to be honest.
There was
may-
one that you asked. I
It
have
might
the-
have been.
Yeah,
So,
the
Rodney?
one that's about the different ones, so I guess
Yeah.
I get my answer. I'm
Yeah,
happy
Rodney
about
gets to get his answer tonight.
Hey, even better. Well, Rodney, this is for you, honey.
it. There you go. I'm good. I'm good.
I have the list right here.
Okay. So my computer is going to be a little flaky. I've got a ton of web pages up to assist me with my presentation because I didn't have all this memorized. So I just decided to start with a very gorgeous image here. Come on. Lightning, what is it? It's a discharge of electricity. And what we're seeing here, we can't really tell if it's positive or negatively charged, but being that it's multiple bolts, this was either a long exposure or this is negatively charged lightning. Single stroke of lightning can heat the air around it to about 54,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That
Hey, Pat.
yeah.
Are you scared? Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah.
No.
It's not-
I'm
I'm
not
not
seeing
seeing
it.
Coming back.
I mean, you doing a great job, but I saw your presentation and it looked even better when you got
Here
pictures.
it is.
Haha. All
Here
right.
we go.
Cool. All right.
So, all right. It causes the air to expand in an explosive fashion. That's what creates thunder. So that's where our thunder comes from. Okay, come on. So how does it happen? Lightning is formed in the clouds when you have a supercell or a tower, cumulus tower. The top of the cloud is colder and will form positive charges when with ice crystals bouncing around up there that bounce into each other, creating these positive charges. Down below that, in the warmer air, or the melting layer as they call it a region of negative charge. You still have water droplets or moisture droplets. This could even be grapple, which is somewhat semi-liquid, bouncing around in there, creating negative charges. Well, Earth being what Earth is, Earth likes to balance herself. So you have positive and negative. They are attracted. And you get an imbalance in the cloud, and it creates a discharge of lightning. So this is showing actually a positive region in one cloud going to a negative region in another cloud, showing cloud-to-cloud lightning. You can have in-cloud lightning with the positive into the negative and below. And you can also, because the Earth also holds charges, typically positive in nature, you will have negative in the cloud reaching to the positive on the ground. And in some amazing footage, and I wish I could have found it. I know Tim Samaras managed to get this before he died. He was working on a project with many frames per minute. I can't even recall the number of film to capture the leaders coming up from the ground, meeting the leaders coming down from the cloud. So how does it form a bolt? Well, that's when you have the negative and the positive reaching for each other, and that explosion of contact creates a lightning bolt. Back to my notes here. So, what gives lightning its zap? Lightning happens when the negative charges in the bottom of the cloud are attracted to positive protons in the cloud. That's that first picture here. We have the tree, okay? The accumulation of electric charges has to be great enough to overcome the insulating properties of air. When this happens, a stream of negative charges pours down toward a high point where the positive charges have clustered due to the pull of the thunderhead. So this is something I did not know. The positive charges on Earth will actually pull up to meet with the negative charges from the cloud, and the result is a connection being made, and the protons rush up to meet the electrons. That's the point we see the lightning and hear the thunder. A bolt of lightning heats the air along the path, causing it to expand. Thunder is the sound that results from the expanding air. So what are positive and... I'm sorry?
I heard some this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to start this out with a little something here. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
Nope.
Nope, you didn't get it. Didn't hear it. It was great in my headset. Anyway, what are positive and negative lightning? I will eliminate that from my queue here. So, positive lightning, in answer to the question, what makes it dangerous? Positive lightning originates at the top of a thunderstorm with the positive charge. So where the cloud tops are positively charged, this can strike as much as 25 miles away from the parent thunderstorm. This is why they tell you when thunder roars, get indoors. You have positive lightning strike, you might not even see that thunderhead. It's going to be attracted to where the ground is negatively charged. Negative lightning basically refers to the polarity of the lightning strike, just as with the positive or a battery. The sign represents the type of charge that comes from that end. So this would be lightning that originates from the lower part of the thunderstorm. where they would have the negative charging. Little note back on positive lightning. Back up here. Come on. So positive lightning strikes only make up about 5 to 10% of all the lightning strikes here in the United States, possibly in the world. This particular article did not specify. Unlike negative lightning, which originates in the lower to middle of the thunderstorm, positive originates at the top, some 30 to 60,000 feet up. Normally, the ground is shielded from the upper positive charge by negative charges in the central part of the storm. When the upper level winds are stronger than the lower level winds and the storm becomes tilted, or when the angle of the thunderstorm cloud spreads out ahead of or behind the updraft of the thunderstorm, the ground is no longer shielded from this upper charge. If the charge differences between the upper level charge and the ground become too large, a downward moving positively charged leader can develop. Because the strike has to travel over such a large distance, it can be up to 10 times stronger and last 10 times longer than a negative strike. And I know you've seen some of these off in the distance. You'll see this leader of lightning and it just seems to hang and just keep going and going and going. That's usually a positive charge. It can reach 1 billion volts and 300,000 amps. The stronger voltage and longer lasting volt is the reason they cause so much damage and because they are so deadly. Positive strikes are usually the cause of forest fires, house fires, damage to planes and power grids. And because they go 25 miles out from the parent storm, only 10% of lightning strike victims die from being hit. Most are hit by negative strikes. The percentage of positive strike fatalities is much higher. So there you have it. There's your answer, Rodney. Negative lightning is 90 to 95% of all strikes. 300 million volts, 30,000 amps, 50,000 degrees hot. Positive lightning is 5 to 10% of all strikes. 1 billion volts, 300,000 amps, 50,000 degrees hot, but lasts 10 times longer. Other differences. Positive lightning is usually composed of one stroke, while negative lightning often has 2 or more strokes in it. Winter storms tend to produce a higher percentage of positive lightning strikes compared to summer storms. I'm going to throw this out to you guys. Why, based on what I've said so far, why do you think winter storms would have a higher percentage of positive strikes?
Would it be possibly because of the colder, drier air?
Yes, sir. The clouds in general are much colder, so you have more positive charges. Yes.
I was going to blame it on that weather guy from the Weather Channel. Jim Cantori, that guy.
That's good.
You were going to blame Jim and not Dr. Forbes?
No, Dr. Forbes is responsible for tornadoes, but Jim Cantori is responsible for thunder snow.
Thunder snow.
I've seen Reed Timmer out there in thunder snow too, but yeah, Jim Cantori, he can scream, call it on. I think he brings it in. So this is just another view of what happens to create the lightning and some of the different angles. I thought it was a little clearer and larger picture to use. Typical cloud to ground strikes are negative. The cloud to cloud that you see is going to be positive to negative, one to the other. Some are down, some are up, but there's that attraction to each other.
See, I never thought about it like that, and they didn't kind of touch on that in the presentation today. They touched on about the separation between the positive up above and the more negative charges down below. But I never thought about that the inner cloud or the cloud to cloud is from positive to negative, and most of the time from the cloud to ground is negative to positive. That seems interesting. I never thought about it from that standpoint.
Yeah. That's kind of why I brought that in here today, because I thought it was a little bit of, why lightning does what it does. And we didn't really get into that. So there's 4 types of lightning. 3 are listed here. The intracloud, which occurs within a single thunder cloud. Cloud to cloud, that starts and ends between 2 different functional thundercloud units. Cloud to ground, we call it lovingly CG, that primarily originates in the thundercloud and it terminates on Earth's surface, but may also occur in the reverse direction, ground to cloud. There's also cloud to air, and I didn't find a lot of information out about that. There wasn't a lot. Now, one of those, and I'll get into that here in a minute, is sprites. But they don't really originate in the cloud. So they're kind of their own thing. Ball lightning. I had a suspicion that somebody was going to leave us a question. What is ball lightning? And
it's not those folks from Mars.
It might be.
There are.
That's as plausible of an explanation for those things.
They are very unusual. I've seen a number of photos of them. There are some studies being done, and there are some plausible explanations, but nobody really knows at this point. It's an unexplained atmospheric electrical phenomenon described as a luminescent spherical object that varies from pea-size to several meters in diameter. Though usually associated with thunderstorms, the phenomenon is said to last considerably longer than the split-second flash of a lightning bolt. And I've seen videos where they travel, like they won't just hover in one spot, but they travel for a short distance. So it's kind of interesting.
Can you imagine being before modern technology, weather radar, modern science of meteorology, seeing something like that in the sky and people just being freaked out?
Yeah.
Hey, it was like that when I was a kid. We didn't have air conditioning, so we always had our windows open, and when the storms came in, they were loud. I mean, like, really, really loud.
Oh, I bet.
Because it was like standing outdoors.
But, I mean, I can really imagine someone seeing something like that, and that's a UFO, or that's a monster in the sky, or something like that, and just everyone being like, my God, the world's coming to an end.
Right. Right.
Interesting. I was just kind of looking at it. When you look at things from a perspective of magnetic poles or magnetic fields, you've got your positive and your negative. So when I see that, it's almost like the lightning almost kind of run off of a magnetic field.
Yeah. A bit. Yeah, because it's still based on the positive and negative attraction. Mm-hmm. So it's an electromagnetic field.
Okay.
And there's a big, not comparison, there's a big, I guess, similarity that you could say. I think that was was part of Tesla's work with electromagnetism, how electricity and magnetism kind of can work hand in hand together. In fact, basically with large, huge power generators, you're basically turning huge, powerful magnets around to produce the electricity. A lot of times that powers a lot of people's homes, particularly if you're talking about like hydroelectric power plants and stuff like that.
the electromagnetic part. Today we had 10-meter band openings all day. It varied from I could just barely hear voices in the distance to I saw somebody talking and it went to 20 over S9. And it was all short duration. You make the contact quick because it's not going to last. And the weird thing was I was getting lightning static. Sounded a little bit like 80
On
meters
10?
a little bit on 10 meters. And I was like, do we have storms nearby? And I checked the radar, and it's like it is now. We had a big opening around Missouri. So what was happening is the band was opening into those places where the storms were, and I was getting the lightning static, and then it would go away.
So
it
you
was only
had
there
some
for a bit.
intermittent tropospheric ducting.
Exactly. Well, it was that sporadic E that we get every early summer. But we had storms out east all day, and I was hearing 4 calls pretty much all day from the area of that storm, roughly 3 and 4 calls. So all of them East Coast, but all of them interspersed with lightning static that was there, and then it was gone. And that was like, okay, this is the electro, like that lightning bolt in the picture generates electric field just like an antenna, very strong. And
So it's sorry.
Go ahead.
What's so interesting about that is it almost makes you wonder if lightning has its own frequency. Does that sound weird to maybe think of it that way? But if
you look at your SDR during the times when there's lightning static, and you see that it's all frequencies at once. You ever notice that?
It would be, I think, the closest thing that I know of, from my knowledge of amateur radio, it'd be akin to a spark gap transmitter, where it's pretty much you key down and you're putting out signal on either many frequencies on either side of your center frequency, or you're putting out a signal almost the entire band, kind of like what Steve said. You're transmitting almost everywhere at once.
Well, it makes sense that lightning would have frequency or frequencies, because you think about the electricity that comes into our homes is 60 hertz. And so, that can cause spurs on our radios pretty badly in some cases. So yes, this is a form of electricity. So yes, it would make sense that it would. I did not find that in my research. I did not. I didn't go that direction today.
Right. I mean,
it makes
Tesla did.
Go ahead, Steve.
Nikola Tesla did studies on resonance. That was kind of his big thing, and he developed coil and capacitor combinations to receive signals. And there were times that he wrote in his notes that he was convinced he was picking up the Martians. But my belief in that was the primitive receiving gear he was getting was kind of disrupting what we know now is, and if any of you ever listen to the videos about the extra low frequency or ultra low frequency receivers, you have what they call whistlers, and what that amounts to, it's a lightning strike way on the other side of the planet, and by the time it gets here, it is stretched out and it's a whistle. The thing that I'm applying been in amateur radio for a long time. I can remember when 80 meters was absolutely unusable in the nighttime on the summer because you couldn't hear nothing. The lightning static was so bad constantly that you just forget it. You're not going to talk to anybody on that, as far as I could tell. And it seemed to match the resonance of my antennas. So it was everywhere that the antenna was resonant. which made it very broadband. And I'm seeing that same thing on SDRs, where you can look at 2 megahertz worth of HF band. There's lightning storms in the Midwest right now. All of them within a maybe 700 or 800 mile range of us. If you go down to 80, you're going to hear them.
And SDR is software-defined radio, which basically we can listen to radio on our computers with.
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
And it's a lot easier to change a lot of the parameters of how you hear that signal in the software, where
Right.
like if you were actually using a traditional radio, you'd have to swap out.
Yeah, you can program it to be
Physical components, or with an SDR, you can just change it in the software.
Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
So, what makes lightning dangerous? And as I said, we're into summertime, and we spend a great deal of time outside. Sometimes we're busy doing things, we don't see the storms coming in. For those of us that are involved in the weather a great deal, we know when there's storms supposed to come. Sometimes they manifest, sometimes we're capped. But we're a little bit more aware of our surroundings. Here in the Ozarks, we have a lot of people who do water sports. The rivers and streams in this area are down and gorgeous. You don't necessarily see those storms coming. So the risk of flash flood, the risk of lightning, and getting hit is very high. Out on the beach, you want to get that last swim in, that last little bit, that enjoy every minute out in the sun. Golf, there's 18 rounds, man. They're gonna get in. The people that I know that golf, they're gonna get it in as much as they can. And unfortunately, water's a conductor. People out in the middle of a field are the highest point there. You don't know if the ground below you is charged, in a positive way or a negative way that might attract the storm. There are 5 ways we can be struck. A direct strike, in the case of being that golfer on the course, or being in a boat out on the lake, taking a hit. They talked this morning about a side flash where a lot of people take cover under a tree from a storm. And,
killing me.
Got your attention. That was my intention.
He did.
Good. This is why you don't take cover under a tree. You try to find a more secure area where you have better cover, in a car, in a building, somewhere not next to a high object that might take a strike. And as we saw earlier, the positive charges from Earth gather, and they're attracted to that negative charge up in the cloud. They gather to the top of the tree, and so trees do become a big target for lightning. Lightning can travel down the tree through the ground, and even if you're not under the tree, you can still take a hit. The ground might be hit near you, and I can't find this video back, but I know a few years ago there was a newscaster that was on site, and her hair went straight out. And fortunately, the cameraman that was with her saw it and told her to get down. And she did the right thing. You shuffle your feet together, and you make yourself as low to the ground as possible, because she was charged, ready to get a lightning strike. And lightning did strike nearby. The reason you put your feet together is so that the lightning doesn't have a way in and a way out. It's current, and it's going to seek an easy way in and an easy way out, as electrical current will do. So by putting your feet together, you are less likely to conduct it because you're not giving it a channel in and out. Getting low to the ground, you're not going to be that reception point, hopefully. Conduction, standing next to something metal, touching it when it happens to take a hit. Minxie, honey, you can't get on camera tonight. Sorry, baby. And then streamers. A lot of negatively charged lightning has got streamers. You'll see those beautiful lightning bolts, and we had one on the screen a moment ago that had little streamers out from it. You might not be near the object that got hit, but the streamers are still there. So there's 5 ways we can actually be struck by lightning. We talked about why positive lightning can be more deadly. We got a little off track. And I'll recap. It has to travel such a large distance. Can be 10 times stronger and last 10 times longer than a negative strike. So how do you stay safe? How to avoid being a victim of lightning? Well, first thing is you want to take cover. If you're outdoors, go to some kind of safety. They say at the first flash of lightning, crack of thunder, or darkening of the sky. So if you're at a ball game, there's some ball games starting to be held now. People are on the golf course. People are out on the lake. You see the storms rolling in, especially if you're on the lake. Don't wait to see the lightning and hear the thunder. If you see the storms rolling in, get off the lake. All thunderstorms are dangerous. We can't tell how much lightning is going to be generated from a storm. That's something that our technology has not achieved yet. This is why we don't get lightning warnings. But they will indicate lots of cloud to ground lightning. Spotters will turn those reports in, and they get that out in the warnings text. Lightning can hit a car. Typically, it will flow through metal toward the ground. I have seen it hit cars in motion in videos, and it will knock out the electrical. I don't know that that's so true if the car's not running. But in a car with the windows up, gives you some protection from that because the car becomes the target, not you. Lightning can reach in a building. It will find a way in through electric, through pipes, through open windows. It has struck people. There was a man in Ozark, Missouri some years ago that was on a hardwired phone, and he was killed by lightning that came in through the phone line. So they say don't take a shower, don't be on a hardwired phone. So get into a building if you can, away from windows. Make sure the windows aren't open, if possible, and take shelter from that. So I didn't know if we'd have any questions on the live feed stream there, Steve.
I don't see any.
Yeah, and I've been watching the chat room as well, and I haven't seen any questions come in either, Patty.
Okay. Well, I thought I'd leave a moment for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to give special credit to Noah, where I got a lot of the information today, Wikipedia and UCAR. So to give them credit for the pictures, for the information that I gathered. And threw this in there because of we needed a closing caption on this. So our names and calls and who we are.
I know that road.
Don't you though? That goes to Hawksville.
It can't be as bad as the dirt road that me and Mom had to go down Tuesday.
This is not a bad road, actually. It's the trail that you get on once you leave this road and go to Hawksbill Crag that gets a little rough.
My cousin lives out by Seymour. there was this road that came off of, I think it was Highway V, that started out okay, but it'd been a while since they graded it, so it had these little holes all over the place. It was like maybe a mile off of the blacktop. So my grandma's going to go back through Marshfield back to Stratford. Me and Mom was coming back to Springfield, so I had planned on going 60. And my cousin's like, well, you just take a left here, and you go up here, and you'll go up to this road, and that'll take you over to 60. It's dirt road for a little bit, but it's not, that's the way you want to go. You don't want to go the other way. My phones keep on telling me, go back the other way, go back the other way, go back the other way. About 3.5 miles of dirt, craggy road till we get to AB Highway. And I'm like, I should have went the other way. I'll be right back, guys.
So, Rodney, did I answer your question?
Very much so, because I mean, and when we watched that thing through Pecos Hank, I don't know if we watched it on the air or if we watched it separately, but we watched the video where he showed the difference between a positive lightning strike and a negative lightning strike. So I like how that's kind of reinforced, and he did his homework just as well as you did, and so I think it's really cool, that we touched on it again. But I believe in one of our earlier episodes we ended up actually talking about that slightly. So, but like I said, there's nothing wrong with passing it on, because I think it's good to know, because that one time when someone gets hit by a positive lightning strike and they thought, whoa, what happened here?
Right. Where did it come from? You're outside and the storm's miles and miles and miles away. You can't really see it. You barely see it on the horizon. And where'd the lightning come from? Well, probably 45, 60,000 feet in the air. A long way away.
I've never
and the video that we watched with Hank, getting back to sprites, we were watching that after we went off the air last week, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things he was researching in that was the connection between positive strikes and sprites. And I did find that I guess this is some ongoing research out there, and they were confirming in that video that with a positive lightning strike there were sprites, because they had Hank filming the lightning, and he was on the radio with the gentleman that was filming the sprites, and hey, I've got one. Yeah, I got sprites. So sprites are lightning of sorts, but they don't originate in the cloud that they can tell at this time. They seem to be air to air above the thunderstorm, on up into the troposphere. So a lot to learn about those. That's why I didn't include too much anything in the presentation. But that probably is another form of lightning. We just learning as we go.
Yeah, and I had heard of sprites, but I guess I didn't really know exactly what they were. I just assumed they were a type of lightning. And when we were watching that video, that was really cool.
Yeah. I've only seen them once, and I have to say this, it was one of the most fabulous light shows I've ever watched in my life. It was from about 90 miles away. Mm-hmm. And gotta love the Great Plains for that, because you can see forever. Yeah. And combine that with 4th of July fireworks, and it was one of the most amazing light shows I've ever seen in my life. So
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe he was working with someone else, but was the videos that we were watching with Pecos Hank, was the guy that he was working with, I know you'd mentioned earlier, I think Tim Samaras, was that who he was working with, or was he working
No,
with
this is
a
more
different
recent.
Oh, okay.
This is much more recent. No, what Tim was working on, he had developed a camera, and I'd have to dig up the information on it, but it was something like 24,000 frames, was it, per
Probably.
minute?
It may be per minute, or I know some of those really high speed, like cameras, like you would catch, like say, like a volcano eruption. To really be able to slow that down, just to get every little, as everything starts going up. I think they can be in that range per second. I mean, it just like within like 10 seconds, you've gone through a whole huge reel of film.
This was not something that was, I mean, he developed this
himself.
Gotcha. So let me look here, because I think my numbers are wrong.
It may possibly have been frames per minute then.
He was, I don't want to subscribe.
No, I had something to think about. You were talking about volcanoes. You know, they do say that there are phenomenon where there's lightning come out of volcanic eruptions. Well, that's interesting because at that point in time, is there really water, unless they're referring to the vapor that maybe is coming out, you know, steam and ash and things kind of getting tied together, but it always has kind of a purplish tint, or maybe somebody made it look that way. But anytime I've ever seen something like that, that's always what it kind of tied to. It makes me wonder if that was a positive charge as well, you know?
I wonder if it has to do with all that volcanic ash and rock and stuff being ejected into the atmosphere, and then kind of like what Patty was saying, like with the frozen particles and the grapple and stuff, it creates those positive and negative ions, and it builds up to that point where the air no longer keeps that in check, and it causes that lightning. I bet you it's probably something similar to that.
The volcano that they had in Iceland that grounded all the flights in Europe for a while, there were some pretty dramatic lightning shots in that eruption. I think it's kind of one of those most recent, and you've got everybody now with very high definition cameras that can get out there, and they really caught it, and it's amazing to see. It's like, ooh.
and like Patty said, with the more likely positive lightning strikes in the winter, Iceland is, you know, they have their summer period where it's not quite so cold, but they have a lot of snow and ice and a lot of cold weather up there. So kind of makes me wonder if a lot of that was maybe even more so positive lightning because of the cold air. Right. If it was that time of the year for them, that might have been why it was so much more dramatic.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Okay.
Dead air.
Well, I found an article. So, good grief. Let's just throw up 1,000 pop-up boxes. I'm seeing all kinds of different numbers here. But I can't get to an article that I don't have to like subscribe to.
Gotcha.
So it said he was showing off the camera, and so maybe this. Uh, okay, I'll give you a junk email if that's what you have to have. No. Uh, uh,
I was just realizing today that how many actual email addresses I have. And I know there's a lot of them that I use for like throwaway stuff, but I resurrected my Yahoo account and there was nothing in it, so I was like, okay, here we go. Got me another spam filter here.
Spam filter.
yeah. No, don't contact me. But I want to read the article.
So maybe we ought to have Jordan create us an auto delete junk mail file that we can all use.
That would be great.
That sounds nice.
Okay, I'm into this one. So
We have
in the 82 seconds before a storm got to him, he placed probes. They registered the steepest fall in atmospheric pressure ever recorded at 100 millibars in less than a minute, as well as the lowest ever pressure adjusted for altitude at the Earth's surface as the twister passed over. He was an amazing man. It doesn't talk about his camera though.
Wouldn't it be interesting if you could see a tornado and lightning like wrapped around it? Have you ever seen that?
Kind of like spiraling around it, kind of almost like the tornado is pulling it into it.
Or like the lightning just comes out of the tornado. I'm like, oh, geez, I've got a weird, when it comes...
I think, didn't they do that in Nuclear Atomic Electric Tornado 6?
Hold on, I got a sound effect for that. And I don't have it turned on. Daggone it.
Oh boy.
There we go. That came through.
See, we can't go a night without our sound effect.
Okay, it says he developed the camera. It was one of the fastest video ever taken of lightning. It said tens of thousands of frames per second.
Yeah.
So his overriding goal was to gather information in the form of imagery and other data that would add to science's understanding of lightning strikes when two oppositely charged trails of electricity, one descending from the sky and one rising from the earth, briefly come together. Specialized cameras shooting tens of thousands of frames per second were not fast enough to capture the moment of contact, so he made his own, souping up a device originally designed for filming above-ground nuclear tests.
Ooh.
With a rotating mirror spun by a helium-driven turbine, the Big Kahuna was capable of capturing as many as 1 million frames per second. Along with the camera and his computers, his trailer was filled with monitoring equipment. The most crucial reading was the electrical charge of the air, measured in thousands of volts per meter. As it approached the danger mark, he would call everyone safely inside. So he found a way to read the air and get everybody in from the lightning. Wow.
As a camera person, I would freaking love to at least see just a picture of that camera.
There is an article out there, and it's in National Enquirer, and I cannot get to it without a paid subscription now.
Gotcha.
Now, there's a video. I don't know if this is. Oh, it's by Kansas Storm Chaser on YouTube. If we want to watch it, he's talking about it. He had his lightning research vehicle also at ChaserCon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I can't share audio,
you want me to send it to me?
I
Rodney
can. Who wants it? Rodney?
I think Rodney might be the only one that could do it right now.
Okay, so let me get to you here with a new message.
Uh-oh.
What's
But
the
yeah,
next-
I figured it
There
had
you go.
to at least be tens of thousands of frames per second, because I know of, you know, high speed cameras that they use in the movie industry for doing slow motion work at least in that range. So I'm not surprised millions of frames per second. Now I'm assuming, being it said that he had a trailer with computers and stuff, I'm assuming, and the article may or may not have said, I'm assuming that this was some form of digital camera and this wasn't actually a film camera.
I guess we're gonna hear a little more about it.
Awesome.
And that's one of two that probably are safe to share. Let me.
Mhm.
Okay, it's queued up.
Cool. Well, and of course, you know, with people, you don't always want to assume, but I would assume, being it's posted on YouTube, it's probably Creative Commons or something like that. That, like you said, it should be okay to share, as long as we give credit to who did it, and I think you've already done that.
Okay, are you all ready?
Yep.
How do I make you bigger, Rodney?
Probably speaker view.
Hold on a second. I got something here. I wasn't feeding it to you. I was feeding it through my TV. Give me just 1 second.
Ah,
Patty, you take each of us picture and slide us to the top of the screen, top right, and that'll leave him alone on the screen.
okay, gotcha.
Okay, so continuing. I think we got better sound now.
It's not very clear, Rodney. Oh, there it is. It's just blurry. Turn off your background thing, Rodney.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Y'all look through your nearsighted glasses. All right.
That was what was going on.
I didn't realize that would do that. Oh. All right, hold on. I'm sorry, guys.
No problem. It's live.
There you go.
You want to slide it
Oh, yeah,
back
that's
so we can hear you?
Clear.
Yeah. Do you want me to? You want me to just kind of bring it to the beginning where this started right here?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
All right, here we go.
Nope, no sound.
Seriously?
No
Seriously.
I'm not hearing it.
I thought I had that all figured out. Okay, let's try that. All right, here we go.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
What'd y'all do to it?
I think Skype got an update, and it does more blocking than it used to.
Very well. Whale flitter. Let me see. Well, I didn't get a chance to really put it all together. I didn't realize we're gonna. I don't know.
So I sent you a second link. See if maybe it's just the video. Try playing the other one.
Okay. Well, I hear it. I'm hearing him talking. So I mean, it's definitely.
It's just not coming through. You had to switch something last time it wouldn't play, and you had to switch something to get it to come on.
Yeah, I worked all afternoon getting that working. All All right. I don't want to take up our time right now, but that's frustrating. Okay. You want me to try to do the other one and see, or?
Or, yeah, I don't know.
Did you send that on Jungle Chasers?
I sent it to Rodney. I can send them both on Jungle Chasers.
Do
Yeah,
that.
go ahead. Maybe Steve can get it going.
The one I already have saved is the second one. And let me go back and I'll send you the first one. Wait. Is that the same?
Man, I wonder what I did that would mess that
No,
up.
I can't do it either. I can send it out on the live stream, but I can't play it into
Oh,
Skype.
wait a minute. I think it's muted. Hold on. Here, let me try to play this again. See if you guys hear it now. Nothing?
Nope.
No, still no audio.
Okay. Yeah. That's a bummer.
That is a bummer. Because it was working fine last week.
Are you feeding that through a hardware link or is it software?
It was going through a hardware link. I've got all the channels that I was going to use. You know,
You routed it through your
my mixer. Yeah.
mixer last time, and it came out great.
Yeah, I know. That's what bugs me. I mean, the only thing I can think of that I had done was I was messing around on, Sunday afternoon, trying to get some, like my my transceiver. I was doing some other things, but I didn't think that would have affected it. But I mean, the only sound effect I have for that would be this right here.
Well, and see your sound effects come through.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, I'll get it figured out and we can maybe watch again, but I don't know. Just when you think you have it figured out.
There you go.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That is the one
I
right
think that's
there.
very fitting.
Oh,
Oh boy.
I'm dangerous with publisher. What can I say? Um,
So, just a little quick talk about Saturday for Tech Day.
Yes.
Have we had a lot of response for Tech Day?
I am not for certain. Rodney, have you gotten any response or have you talked to Jordan?
My communication with Jordan has been short. He just asked me, "Hey, are you off for Saturday?" And I was like, "Yep,
Yeah.
got it off." Which is a reason why I was late tonight, because normally I'm off on Thursdays, but I went ahead and switched it up, and that way I can be off on the Saturday. And
Gotcha.
oh boy, all I can say is I'm glad I did go in, because it was
Madhouse.
yeah, it was a mess. So, anyway.
Was there any
Gotcha.
metric driving it, or was it just a busy day?
Was it what now?
Was there any kind of like metric that was driving the day, or was it just a
Oh, it was just,
crazy?
Bell to bell, basically. I got there right as we opened, and I was dealing with, just kind of an odd situation.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up taking probably a good 3/4 of my day, and my manager was, fit to be tied because he was basically throwing, trying to get everything through, get everybody through, and he's running back there going, we can't have this, we can't keep doing this. Like, okay, oh boy. So, needless to say, it eventually turned out to be okay. But when you're short-handed, you may need to start learning how to prioritize a little better. And I was probably on my end. I didn't realize it was going to be like it was. But anyway, we persevered through it. So.
Anytime you're short-handed and you can't make up that short-handedness, that it does put more on other people, and it makes it a little bit tougher on everyone.
Sorry, a little bit of crowd control here.
Crowd control.
No problem.
Was it a child, a cat, or a dog?
It was both.
Yeah.
It was basically my daughter was dragging her cat across the floor because the cat doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you doing?" And of course, she's. You guys could hear everything probably in the background. So anyway,
that noise canceling mic's doing a good job.
Yes.
If it is, then I can hear everything. I don't know. I can hear her singing in her bedroom. I can hear my son playing video games. I can hear it all, but yet you guys don't hear any of it.
I can't remember. Do you have a PR781 or do you have a PR40?
It's a PR781.
Yeah. Well, it actually, honestly, I think doesn't matter because they're basically, I think, kind of the same radio. I think same microphone, but the PR40 has like an extra element or something extra in it that the PR781 doesn't have. But they're both known for having excellent rejection from the rear. They're what's called an in-firing microphone. So I'll take this, say this is the microphone. Sometimes some of them, if this was the top of the microphone and this is where the connector comes in, some of them are side firing. So you talk into them from the side. But the Heil PR 781 and the PR40 are in firing, so you talk into the end. So everything, I think, from this end, it's like something like a 90% rejection because of I believe it's a dynamic cardioid patterned microphone, which means it kind of picks up more towards the front, a little bit lesser to the sides, but it's designed not to really pick up much of anything
And
from
if I
behind.
recall from looking at how Rodney's set up, the mic points back toward the bedrooms.
Yeah. So that helps you get that back rejection.
It also is that dynamic element does not respond as loudly to. In other words, you have to be a little closer to it and crank your gain up to make it work. So that makes the quiet stuff
like
really not there.
Yeah.
So all the things I'm hearing are maybe something else because you guys don't hear all that business going on?
We don't hear it.
No.
Thank goodness. Jeez.
My
wife was watching MASH earlier, and I'm going, oh, I got to turn this down because
No, we
we're
didn't
going to
hear it.
hear MASH going through. We're going to get kid off for copyright or something,
No, you sound like you're in Studio 2B of the Southwest Missouri Broadcasting Center.
Well, there was a little bit of malice in that response.
Huh?
I thought it was a bit sarcastic, but
Yeah,
I wasn't meaning to be sarcastic. I was like, you almost sound like you're in a professional broadcasting or recording studio.
Well, and
Wait
essentially,
a
you
minute.
sound
Trying
almost
to
like,
ham it
well, if I
up.
had a microphone like that, I could do that too. You know,
I'm the one that
Well,
came
I
up with Studio
could,
G.
but- I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it that way.
Okay.
I got a pretty decent sounding desk mic here when I can get it to work.
I'm just playing. I'm playing. I don't know. Maybe I'm all on edge after all I dealt with today. So please don't take it personal.
You need to relax, Rodney. Om.
You need to show your face and not your screen. You're
Yeah.
still screen sharing.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah.
See, I'm thinking if this was the movie Lethal Weapon, Rodney's the guy who's on the edge of the top of the building, who's saying he wants to jump, and you know, I'm just kind of like cool Mel Gibson here, you know, that's getting ready to say, do you really want to jump? Do you wanna?
Oh boy.
There you go. That was good time.
That was good.
I got to get that point to where I can just push a button. Awkward cricket.
Basically, Rodney, here's your guideline. If I'm on the show, your finger needs to be permanently on that button from the time we go live till when we end.
Oh my.
Oh my. Okay. Well, Steve, do we have anything else?
I am not sure we do. Probably nothing that we could share on the air.
That's what I'm thinking. We're gonna
Uh-oh.
Jungle Chasers after.
Uh-oh.
Do I need to get my wingback chair, my smoking jacket, and my snifter of brandy ready for the After Dark segment?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Pause for the cause.
So, I do have one thing, and I need to pull it up here. A little bit ago, our own National Weather Service said that there's a little bit of uncertainty about some early morning storms again. So, let's see what they had to say about this. So, not a clear-cut forecast into Friday morning. Thunderstorms currently in Nebraska and Kansas may try to move into the area again Friday morning. If they do, some severe storms would be possible with damaging winds and lightning the main threats. It is possible, however, they don't survive the trek here. Regardless, they want people to have a way to receive warnings in the morning. So there's low confidence here, but
be on guard.
yeah. So we may need a replay of the morning, and hopefully we don't have people losing power.
Yeah.
Although it was a beautiful handoff, I have to give you all credit. You know, George said he could have hung in there till about 7, but passed it off to Teresa because your power was out, and he had to pass off because the repeater lost power to the internet. The All-Star link went down, and he was having difficulty pulling out the incoming traffic. So it was great. It seemed like it was flawless this morning, and I have to give you all kudos for the way that was handled, especially given the horrible nature of the storms with all the damage they were causing at that time. So.
Yeah, and I didn't know whether anyone else was going to be up at that time. I went ahead and posted it in our net control chat. Thankfully, Billy was there. Teresa, I don't know if she had woke up before then or during that time. I was actually in the process of, like, I'm pretty for sure I have George's number where I can maybe either call him or text him and let him know my power's out. And because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's on Facebook. And
No,
I was
it's not.
I was about looking that up whenever I heard, because I had my handheld scanner. I had turned it on, and I heard Billy over the repeater telling him, "Hey, Franklin's power's out," and then Teresa, I can pick it up if you need to, and it worked great.
So I can actually send you his number.
Oh, I've got it. I found it. Billy got to him on the repeater before I got to his number in my phone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Well, is this going to be our closing segment?
I think so.
Cool.
Unless anybody's got anything hyper
So
important.
we're ready for the.
We do have a big deal coming if this becomes a hurricane in the Gulf. There's going to be a lot of information to share. We'll do our best to get that information out there. I can go live and start throwing up graphics and get some HF live stream going if I can hear them. I got my antennas in a lot better shape, so I hope that's going to be the case. So if we do have something that's a need there, then we can kind of cover it. But if it turns out to not be anything,
Right.
And I do not know that we've got anything planned over the weekend. It seems like more often than not we have nothing planned, and then that day, oh well, let's do this. But if something does come up, likely I can probably be available to do live stream, maybe possibly,
We're
if,
looking at
it's
Monday night into Tuesday at the earliest for the early bands of that storm. So what I've got up on the screen right now is our conditions for the weekend.
Gotcha.
So I want people to take note that it was pointed out today by the National Weather Service, heat is the #1 killer in the United States. So I want people around here to take note that we are going into a couple of days here where we will have extended heat with heat indices that probably will go near or above 100. Let's not leave our kids or pets or anyone in a vehicle for that matter.
Oh, no.
Take frequent rest breaks in shade or air conditioning if you have outdoor interests this weekend. It says avoid consumption of alcohol and caffeine. Both can contribute to a higher body temperature and can put you in danger. Drink lots of water, even if you're not thirsty. And I'm going to go into my own stuff here. And
I have always heard a lot of people say, doctors, sports medicine people, that if you wait until you're thirsty, you're likely already dehydrated.
yeah. Oh, you're probably going to get in trouble with some other symptoms before that. Oh, shoot. I opened it in the wrong thing. I have too many options. Okay. So, heat exhaustion, increased thirst. So, yes, you will get thirsty. Weak, you feel like you're fainting or you are fainting. Muscle cramps, nausea and vomiting, irritability, headache, increased sweating, cool, clammy skin, and a body temperature that will be less than 105. Usually around 103. That's when you're getting in danger. Okay. Heat stroke, severe headache, weakness, dizziness, confusion, rapid breathing, and heartbeat. Both come with a rapid heartbeat. The easy way to tell them apart is a rapid, weak heartbeat is a sign of heat exhaustion. A rapid, strong heartbeat is a sign of heat stroke. You can lose consciousness. You may have seizures. You will quit sweating. Your skin will be flushed and hot, dry to touch. Your body temperature will go to 105 or higher. For signs of heat stroke, that requires immediate emergency medical care. For heat exhaustion, get yourself to a cool place. Start sipping cool water. I wouldn't advise ice water at that time. Your body temperature is going to be very high, but start getting some fluids, even Gatorade that's not ice cold, into your body and get yourself cooled down. Cool wash rags to your neck and to your chest area will help bring your core temperature down. And make sure your kids are hydrated. They get out playing. Watch for their flushed faces. When they start getting real flushed and they're breathing really hard, get them in, get them cooled down. They may not like to be stopped, but that they need to take breaks too. And
Yeah. And definitely, if you're doing something like children outside playing, if you're exercising outside, or if you're having to do any kind of work where you're having to exert yourself, even just a little bit, probably double down on some of this stuff. Take more often, maybe a little bit longer breaks. Like you said, keep kind of drinking some kind of cool to maybe not quite, maybe a little bit cooler than room temperature liquid, like water, Gatorade, Powerade, something like that, that does not have caffeine in it. And just, really watch yourself. And if you start feeling any kind of fatigue, any kind of weariness, stop what you're doing and take a long rest, or maybe consider packing it in for the day.
Yeah, and avoid that really hot part of the day with your activities. Here's something I wanted to get out there, and I think I'm going to put a PowerPoint presentation together on heat-related illnesses, and I think that would be a good one in the future. I've got a ton of stuff on it. But just of note, children's body temperatures can rise up to 5 times faster than that of an adult.
I can see that just from the sheer difference in size and body mass. There's less mass to kind of equalize the body temperature and maybe try to cool it down. I can see definitely where that would be the case. And one thing that they pointed out in the heat portion of the presentation we watched earlier today, and I don't think a lot of people really either think about it or they realize it, within 10 minutes, and they were going off of an air temperature of 80 degrees, within 10 minutes, the interior of a car, particularly if you have all the windows up, can be near 90 to 100 degrees. I think it was within 60 minutes or less, it can be over 120 degrees inside.
Yeah. Here's one.
And that's fatal.
Right. 75 degrees outside, which we think of as temperate. The inside temperature of a car can reach 118 degrees.
Yeah. Cracking
your windows because doggy's in there or your kid's in there to allow a little bit of airflow is not going to be good enough to deal with that. And then it goes up exponentially. 77 degrees can get to 123, 81 degrees, which is still comfortable outside, 138 in a vehicle. So, yeah, this weekend it's going to be much hotter. So anyway, I've got a chart that's similar to what they've got. I can throw up. I've got some good stuff. Anyway, I will.
Okay, yeah, that kind of gives you the
put
timing
together.
and
Yeah.
stuff. That's kind of similar to what they had. Cool.
So George is available tonight, and he's aware that we've got a potential Now, one more thing before we sign off here. Tomorrow we are anticipating some afternoon and evening storms. It seems like we're kind of in our summer weather pattern. Isolated storms producing hail to quarter size and damaging wind gusts to 60 mile per hour, lightning and heavy downpours. We're going into the weekend and people may take an early time off. So just, be mindful when you're camping where you're actually camping at, or, try to get away from the water on high ground if you can. That's not always the fun place to be. We like to be on the beaches, but any rain that comes in right now is going to lead to flooding. It's just a given. Yeah.
And even if you're not going camping, if you're going...
You froze, Franklin.
Uh-oh.
Area, even like, say, you're taking off. Oh, I'm froze?
You froze.
Okay.
It reminds me of one of those.
I was just saying.
I was watching.
I was just saying, even if you're not going camping, if you're staying in like a cabin or a motel hotel, say you're going down from Springfield to Branson for the weekend, be mindful of places that you're going to that might be in low-lying areas. I'm sure heavy rain. We've got super saturated ground. There's going to be some flooding where you're at, where you're going to. Is that an area that might potentially flood? Just kind of be mindful of the area around you and where you intend to go to.
Good advice.
All right. Well, Patty, you want to take us out?
I can. Let me get back in here. I got busy on Facebook posting. Okay. Weather Ready Nation, baby. We got to get the information to the public too. So
True.
Anyway, I want to wish everybody a safe, happy, healthy, and filled with joy weekend. And until we see you again, 73 and 88 from KD08EL.
And I just want to wish everyone a safe weekend and good times, and hopefully everyone gets to do what they want to do, and no one gets hurt or anything worse than that. So 73 is from KD0RSJ.
And appreciate you guys dealing with our technical issues that we go through. Hopefully we'll continue to get better and better about that. But thanks for joining us. Again, I'm sure Steve will say this, but like and subscribe, tell your friends. We'd love to get a little bit of an audience from time to time. We can answer questions on the air. We're always looking forward to doing something to, again, just kind of spread the word, weather information, and if you can learn from something that we say, well, then you're doing pretty good. So I'm going to say 73. This is Rodney, K0FZ. Have a good evening.
Am I it?
You're it.
You're it.
Okay, it's KA0SPM. Saying 73 to all. Glad that you joined us this evening, and hopefully we did provide some good information and potentially even some entertainment. So always glad to have you all on board with our crazy live streams, and hopefully we'll see you again. And like and subscribe. Tell your friends. We appreciate it. And so 73 from Steve, KA0SPM.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Hang on here. Mouse is not
We have to
cooperating.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up.